You are listening to the Pursuit of Manliness podcast, where we are vigorously equipping men to pursue biblical manliness. This is our midweek A Quiet Life podcast that focuses on living a quiet life, mind your own affairs, work with your hands, and be dependent upon nobody. For more information, visit us at thepursuitofmanliness.com.
Recently, my family and I were out of town for a couple weeks, and when we go to this particular location, there's a church that we always attend, and I enjoy going there. It's a little different than where we worship, but I enjoy the preaching, the worship, the fellowship. They're very friendly people. And one of the particular weekends being there, the pastor was preaching on John chapter 11. If you don't know John chapter 11, it's the story of Jesus and Lazarus. And Jesus is close with Lazarus. He's very close with Mary and Martha. They have this really strong relationship. I mean, they have access to Jesus where, other people struggle to even get around him. He's got a really good camaraderie with them, where there's open dialogue between them on a real friendship level, even different than the disciples in many ways. And they get the word to him that Lazarus is sick, and then that sickness moves to, all these different progressions. Jesus talks about, hey, he's sleeping. He talks about, hey, this illness doesn't lead to death. And we find out he did die. And there's this whole thing as you go through John chapter 11. Well, this is what the preacher's preaching on. And I just keep reading the rest of the chapter, and I start looking at, turn the page and trying to jump ahead of where he's at. And to me, it was a fascinating story to connect this idea of living a quiet life. Jesus is with his disciples. He's doing kingdom work. He gets news that someone is ill, close to him, a friend of his. The illness moves to death, to the point that they bury Lazarus. Lazarus has been buried for 4 days by the time Jesus gets there. Jesus, always fully in control of every situation, is very calm. Even though it's just absolute chaos. And it's chaos because, Thomas, who gets a bad rap for doubting Jesus' resurrection, said, well, let's go with him. We're going to go die with him. And the rest of the disciples had to think, I don't know if we signed up for that. But as he gets there, obviously the family comes out to him and they begin to talk with him. It says that Martha said to Jesus, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. Jesus says, from the resurrection, the life, whoever believes in me, though he die, yet he shall live. Goes down to verse 27. She said to him, yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who is coming into the world. I mean, that's the great confession right there. Twice in this chapter, Jesus gets emotional. Twice in this chapter, he weeps. But I want to look particularly at verse 38 and 39 of this. Then Jesus, deeply moved again, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone lay against it. Let's just stop right there. I know a lot of you guys resonate with this idea of living a quiet life. I hear from you. Some of us have dialogued about it. I think there's a lot of men that aspire to live a quiet life. We are big fans of mind your own business. I wish more people would mind their own business. There are things that are being talked about, discussed, and I say, yeah, I don't need to get in on that. That's not about me. That's not my crew. That's not my family. I don't need to worry about that. And so as the pastor's preaching through John 11, that's kind of resonating with me that, I have no problem going to whatever degree I need to go to take care of my wife and kids. No problem. I'll work whatever hours. I'll go without whatever. I have no problem doing that. I have no problem trying to protect my home and providing for my home. I don't. Where I struggle sometimes is when I'm minding my own business, I can really put my head in the sand and just kind of ignore the problems of the world. And I looked at this and I thought, I love the fact that Jesus wasn't in a hurry to get there. He wasn't flustered. He's in full control. He says, hey, this death doesn't end in death. This is going to be different. And listen, don't we believe that our death shouldn't end in death either? If Romans 8:11 is true, same Spirit that raised Jesus Christ from the dead, if he is in you, he too will give life to your mortal body. So you say, well, worst case scenario, I'll live forever. I think we forget that. But I thought about this idea of minding your own business, because if we're not careful, we turn into this, we've used the word lone wolf, a recluse, aloof, a drifter, John Wayne. If we're not careful as men, we will turn ourselves into characters within our own story. Well, that's just who I am. That's how I respond. That's my personality. How many different scenarios does Jesus find himself in just in 4 Gospels? How many different scenarios? Endless scenarios. He's at parties. He's at a funeral here. He's going to church. He's eating food. There's all these different scenarios Jesus finds him in, and yet he is consistently kingdom-minded. You see, mind your own affairs doesn't mean you check out of the kingdom. Mind your own affairs doesn't mean you turn into a caricature within your own story. I've shared before, my natural tendency is to be more of a lone wolf personality. I was just texting a friend of mine that I don't have a problem ordering things online because I don't like to have to go to the grocery store and look for it. If someone will bring it to my door and I don't have to leave, I'm all about that. But there are things that are kingdom-minded things that we must be about. And when you encounter kingdom-minded moments, when you encounter, whether it's community with other brothers in Christ, whether it's taking care of your wife and kids, maybe sometimes it's saying no to work because it's more important that you get where you need to be, and that's with them. Whether it's guarding your heart, whether it's holding yourself accountable or having other guys hold you accountable. When that happens, mind your own business is out the window. You do what needs to be done. You see, as Jesus comes to this place, there's a stone. Jesus says, take away the stone. Martha, the sister of the dead man, said to him, Lord, by this time there'll be an odor, for he's been dead for 4 days. Jesus said to her, did I not tell you that if you believed in me, you would see the glory of God? You see, there are times where my personality needs to take a back seat. What I want takes a back seat. It's not about me. It's not about what I want. It's not about my tendencies. I'm going to be honest with you. I can drift with the best of them. I can disappear with the best of them. I can check out. There are times I've been in places and I'm already thinking about, okay, how do I get out of here? All right, how do I check out? How do I fade out of this? How do I come up with something that I can get out of it? But listen, when it matters, grown men don't do that. When it really matters, grown men show up. Grown men have a presence that says we can count on that guy. That doesn't mean I'm in the people-pleasing business, not at all. There'll be plenty of people upset that I didn't answer an email or a DM or share your post or whatever. That's all right. I'll be okay with that. When it's a kingdom-minded thing, I will show up. I will be there, and you can count on me. I will be about the kingdom. You see, there was a great hindrance in front of Jesus between him and Lazarus, and that hindrance was this giant stone. Martha's like, there's another hindrance you might want to consider, and that's the fact he's going to stink because he's been in there for every bit of 96 hours. Jesus, I'm the resurrection of life. Remove that great hindrance and you will see the glory of God. For some of you guys, you need to remove a great hindrance in your life. It might be tendencies that you keep repeating and they're not becoming of a mature man of God. You claim to be one, you're just not living like one. You're just not acting like one. Maybe you need to remove a great hindrance of maybe you don't chase every dollar because what happens in your house is going to be more important than whatever you can put in your bank account. Maybe you don't go after every hobby. Maybe you can't be involved in everything because there are people in your life who need your presence. They need you to add value. And even beyond that, there's a kingdom that is forcefully advancing. There's a kingdom that is close as your hand in front of your face. Are you actively involved in that, or are you just consuming the goods from that? There's a whole bunch of people standing around there going, he claims to raise people from the dead as he can't even lift up his own best friend. Now listen, once Lazarus is alive, the religious people want to kill him the whole time he's still on planet Earth. They're plotting to kill Lazarus. It's not going to be easy following Jesus. And we'll go back to this. Sometimes your tendencies, my personality, what I want, what I'd rather do, needs to take a back seat. You see, mind your own affairs is not an excuse to not do the things that we should be doing, to not show up well, to not be men of presence, to not add value. That's not what that verse means. Mind your own affairs means I don't get caught up in every political thing and every emotional thing and who's with who and who. I don't need to get into that. Mind your own affairs says I am about the kingdom. We need men who will be about the kingdom. We need men who we know we can count on. We need men like this scenario. We are not in the people-pleasing business. I'm not getting worked up every time the wind blows or what costs what or what happens. Listen, man, I get that. And that stuff stinks and that stuff's frustrating. Jesus saw the great hindrance. My question to you is, what is the great hindrance for you? And does it need to be purged? He looked at that stone and said, get it out of here. The good news is that's going to happen after he dies, right? God looks at that stone and says, get it out of here. Brings Jesus back to life. Do you believe in the resurrection? Do you believe that Jesus is alive? Do you believe that that grave could not hold him? Have you surrendered to that message? Have you given your life to that message? You say, Jesus, I surrender. I'm not going to be a fraudster Christian. I'm not going to be an imposter. I'm surrendering my life to you. If you have, that means it's no longer about us. It's no longer about me. It's no longer about what I want. It's no longer about my personality. It's no longer about my quirks. It's not. And when those things rear their ugly head, I need to remind myself of what Jesus told Lazarus when he came out of that tomb. He said, unbind him. Unbind him. I think there's some men, including myself, we need to look at some sin in our life. We need to look at some stuff in our life that's keeping us from being the man of God has called us to be, and say, God, unbind me. Unbind me. Take off these clothes. If Galatians 2:20 is true, it's no longer I who live, but Christ who lives within me. That old guy's gone. Get those dead clothes off me. Get that stuff off me. I don't want any remnants of that. And when those things start to show up, you say, unbind me, Lord. Free me of that. Amen? I want you to consider that. If you would, read John chapter 11. Amen? I'll talk to you in a little bit.
Thank you for listening to the Pursuit of Manliness podcast. If you would, make sure to visit iTunes and leave a 5-star review to let others know what you think of this show. When you get a chance, make sure to visit thepursuitofmanliness.com to see what is available in the gear store, find more information out about Tribe, and much more. Thanks for listening, and let's keep pursuing biblical manliness.